Things are gonna get crazy.
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How is everybody doing? I hope you're all having a good time. I hope your days has been going nicely, and especially, I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, because let me tell you, it has been very eventful, especially with so many landmark moments and some of the biggest moments of the year that has all occurred on this one little weekend. Of course, we got The Odyssey that has now been released, and it's already been considered to be one of the biggest and one of the best movies of the year, basically making those anti-woke culture war idiots basically a laughing stock with essentially the desperate attempt of trying to go and throw all their hate at it, and basically all pretty much revealing that their culture war crusade and that their anti-woke thing, it has no relevance. It has no impact. It basically does nothing whatsoever. I mean, imagine being the guy who is so stupid to still unironically watch AI slop like The Critical Drinker or Nerd Tonic or any of these future homeless people in 2026. Like, that is honestly something that's just truly laughable, and what has happened with The Odyssey is massive proof of that. And not to mention, we did just get the FIFA finals in which Spain is ultimately declared as the winner. But when it comes to the game itself, let me tell you folks, it's honestly crazy to go and think that the few seconds in which we saw the Muppets during the halftime show, that was actually more exciting than the game itself that took over 2 hours without counting the breaks, only to go and see one goal happen near the end of it. So at the very least, I could just go and say that, yes, I saw it, I was there, and as for the game itself, well, yeah, that I saw it. Oh, and also there is one more thing that I want to go and say, not just in terms of the weekend. Actually, there is one more thing I can mention, because as I am recording this today, a major piece of news occurred. I'm not going to go into full details about it. It won't be one of the stories because this is kind of breaking news, but you know about the whole thing with the Paramount and Warner Brothers merger? Well, right now, it is on hold. It's not saying that it's officially over, but there can be officially no progress on it, considering that a judge has demanded an order for the whole thing to just be on hold. So things are honestly taking very interesting turns to see what's going on with that whole thing. So, of course, this is going to be something that we will have to go and keep our eyes out for to see what major updates are going to be happening with that entire deal. And one more thing I want to go and quickly mention is that tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, don't forget to come back to my Twitch channel, AniMat Live, for I am going to go and do another episode of What's in the Box. Yes, we're going to have more times to go and open letters and packages, see what you all have to say. And of course, right afterwards, we can have like a fun little Q&A where we could just chat. And also I could go and tell you a few updates on what's going to be in store with my videos. So again, that's going to be happening tomorrow, which is Tuesday, July 21st at starting at 4 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, AniMat Live. So just thought I would go and let you all know on that. All right, now, with all that said and done, we do have one big episode to get into, and oh boy, are there plenty of major things to go and talk about here. So with all that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, Who is ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Who is ready? All right, let's see now. Are people prepared? Yes? Oh, okay. You know what? I see the hype is on. I see the anticipation is going in. And so, with all that said, it is now time that we are gonna go and get things started. And with our first story, I would like to go and highlight a moment in the last episode in which I discuss about the trailer of Dune Part 3, considering that it's one of the biggest movies that's going to be coming out this year. And I did notice that a lot of people have commented that, well, you know, the trailer is very nice. It does look like it's going to be very well done, but, you know, the hype is not really there for that particular movie. Because on the same day as Dune Part 3, there is going to be another movie coming out that people are keeping more of their eye out for. One that they're very much excited to go and see, and how that is ultimately going to turn out. Well, if you're going to have that kind of attitude, well, you're in luck, because as I'm recording this today, they actually did release a brand new trailer for that movie. And if you are all excited for that one, then why don't we go and actually see what the hype is going to be in store here? And so, without further ado, let us go ahead and start things off by checking out the trailer for the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, Avengers Doomsday. And that was Avengers Doomsday, to which the movie is going to be released in theaters on December 18th. And I gotta say, when it comes to the trailer itself, honestly, I'm rather surprised that they just call it a trailer and not just a teaser, because I will say you don't really get much out of this as a trailer. And I'm not really saying that as a criticism. In fact, I would actually dare say that's one of the better things about this trailer in particular, is that it only gives us a small taste of what's going to be in store. In fact, what really is highlighted here is that we are going to see this Avengers style crossover happen again. Now, I will say, on my part, by the way, I know I'm not really much of a major follower of the MCU, and there are some things that I'm still a little bit behind. But when it comes to the more recent stuff, I will say that there are some things that I am more up to date with. Like, I have seen, well, I don't know if this does count with Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, considering all the elements of X-Men that is being featured, I mean, I guess you could say maybe technically, but anyways, I have seen Deadpool and Wolverine. I can throw that in there. But I have also seen Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and I've seen Fantastic Four: The First Steps. So from there, you do see those elements that are going to be coming back onto this, and that the main thing is that now we are going to see this new generation of the Avengers. Like, it's no longer going to be like how it was before with, with Thor, Captain America, alongside the Hulk and who was Black Widow, and I know, and Iron Man, of course, and Hawkeye as well. Like, yeah, it's no longer those Avengers. Now we're going to be getting a brand new generation of Avengers that will be featuring an entire different group, or some new versions, I will say. Like, there was at one point, like, right over here. So you do see you do see some updated versions. Like, you'll see, like, even like like, you got Florence Pugh there, so like you got a bit of the Thunderbolts. You got Ant-Man, of course, coming back. You got the new version of Captain America. and a few others that I've already mentioned. And what's honestly interesting also in this trailer is actually with Thor, where now he has become the new mentor, kind of like the new Nick Fury. And it's honestly very fascinating with how he had his little pep talk with the new Avengers, considering that you do hear that he is talking out of fear. Like, he's talking about his past experience, and he talks about his old allies that he used to work with before they pass away. And especially to go and elude the new threat that apparently they're really hyping up, that he might be even more dangerous than what they face with Thanos, with Dr. Doom. And I would even dare say that's one of the things that I find to be so fascinating with this entire trailer here, is that you don't really get much out of Dr. Doom, even though he's going to be the main bad guy, even though this movie is going to be about him in particular. But you don't really see much of his powers. Like, you don't really see much of him in general. Like, I don't think he even had a moment to actually speak, or unless like it's at the end where the opening dialogue was from him. It was mostly just this moment, like right over here. Like, just facing Thor, and he's just there like, nah, not in the mood, pal. Excuse me for a sec. Hold on a sec. Excuse me. Okay. But as I was saying, I think they did a very good job with hyping up with the involvement of Dr. Doom, even though, like, we barely got much out of him, other than the fact that Thor is pretty much hyping him up to be an absolute threat to go and deal with. So that's going to be really, that's going to be one thing that is going to be worth the excitement over, to see how Dr. Doom is going to be. And I'm not just talking about how Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing as Dr. Doom, but just how he is in general. And let's not forget about one little moment at the end of the trailer that is still quite a mystery, but we still really need to know in regards to this moment right over here.
Awesome.
Like, even though technically we did get a new Captain America, the old one is going to be coming back. So how did Steve Rogers suddenly show up here? How is he now in this universe? How is he not like gone like what we've seen before? There are still those elements of mysteries that need to be answered, but hopefully, or maybe we'll see if it's going to be revealed in Doomsday. If not, maybe those answers are going to be revealed when Secret Wars is going to be released in the near future. I don't know. But I will say, overall, though, I could see where the hype is coming from. And even though this just offers us a little bit of a taste, I could see where there's going to be a lot of excitement. And this is not even counting how this is going to be the real big premiere of the X-Men. Like, beforehand, we didn't get much in terms of, we didn't get a whole lot in terms of the X-Men, specifically in the MCU. Like, yes, I did mention a bit of, Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's kind of like in a weird middle where I don't know if it really is like a true introduction to the MCU. It's more a bit of its own thing. But what I mean is that this is going to be the true MCU versions that we are going to see. And we are going to be getting updates, especially like, not to mention bringing back like fan favorite actors reprising their roles. Like, we see a moment with Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen playing as Professor X and Magneto, respectively. So, of course, we're going to see them now starting to play a significant role in the MCU and how things are going to go. So, of course, there's going to be, like, in that factor alone, there's going to be a lot of excitement. Now, maybe some of the others that we have been introduced before, like maybe Miss Marvel is also going to be coming back, because I know that she has a little bit of a connection to the X-Men, or what was established in her series. But regardless, though, there is a lot of things to get excited over. It's going to be the comeback of an Avengers movie. We're going to see Doctor Doom as the main villain of the MCU, and we are also seeing the return of the X-Men. So already, I will say that this trailer definitely has done its job. It has really hyped things up for it. And I think for me, honestly, I would say that I could see this is going to be the kind you show it up at the big screen. And even if it is just a trailer, like imagine like you're going to go and watch Spider-Man Brand New Day. That trailer pops up. And by the end of it, we're going to hear the audience go, you know, there's just going to be a big round of applause that people are going to go and do. So overall, though, I understand the excitement, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit hyped up for it myself. I might even consider maybe if I have time during the holiday season, I could probably go and check this out myself. I might be pretty curious as well. But if you're excited to go and check out Avengers Doomsday, then keep in mind that the movie shall be coming out on December 18th. And with that said, now I would like to pass this down to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about the trailer of Avengers Doomsday? Are you guys absolutely hyped up for it? Do you have any criticisms you would like to go and express? And if you're still a major follower or a fan of the MCU, I would love to know what you think. And also, why don't we go? Oh, actually, you know what? Oh, no. This isn't actually, okay, this isn't a poll. So I do have the freedom to go and actually do so. So I want to go and write down, did you enjoy the trailer of Avengers Doomsday? So I'm going to go and write down yes, and then I'm going to go and write down no. And now we shall see what the chat wall has to say. All right. Holy crap. People have a lot to say on this. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Now, let's see here. Well, this is certainly a movie trailer. Like, I get why people are excited for it, but I just can't get hyped. This looks just like any other Avengers movie, just with X-Men and Fantastic Four. I hope I'll be surprised, but right now, I feel rather underwhelmed. Okay, you know what? That's fair. That's honestly fair. I mean, like I said, it is like the main thing that they do present. Like, that's why, honestly, this feels more like a teaser than an actual trailer. It's just to emphasize that these Marvel characters are going to be coming together for this one movie. Let's see what other comments are there. So far with Victor Von Doom, the costume looks amazing. RDJ's voice acting in this sounds pretty good too. And I'm excited to see the Fantastic Four and X-Men joining the MCU Avengers. I should also mention how a bit haunting that countdown clock sound is. But overall, I already got my Infinity Vision ticket for December. I do wonder how Infinity Vision is going to work. That is a good question, because like I remember I did read about it. I think it wasn't that long ago that Disney did mention about what is Infinity Vision, but I'm not 100% sure. Like, I know it's like some kind of major updated, innovative way to go and watch movies. And I don't think it involves AI, don't you worry. But yeah, like I know it's going to be like a new way of seeing feature films, but I don't really know the details. Anyways, let's see now. Am I the only one kind of worried about this movie? Because this trailer is not selling me. Thor's speech was pretty harrowing, but everything involved, like the visual effects and the leaked plot, don't have me all that hyped. But again, I could be wrong. Maybe it'll surprise me. So I'll still try to go in with an open mind. Not much to say, but The Rock's cringe-ass wig will return in Avengers Doomsday. Oh yeah, that stupid wig. Oh my goodness. Imagine it's not The Rock at all. It's just going to be like a floating tuft of hair, kind of like in the Lion King remake that's just going to be floating around. That's going to be the hair that will appear in Avengers Doomsday. Let's see what else we got here. To be honest, even though I do enjoy plenty of Marvel movies, I'm not the biggest MCU completionist, so as intriguing and impressive as this trailer is, I might not be ready to see it just yet. Even though I was really against it at first, it sounds like RDJ actually will be pretty good as Doom. Oh, well, there you go. And by the way, I do have the results of the poll, and I will say not everyone, but the grand majority of you have said that yes, you did enjoy the trailer of Avengers Doomsday, where 90% of you who have voted actually said that you did enjoy it, while 10% of you voted did not. So I'm not going to go and say that it did its job entirely well, but it is pretty satisfactory for some, at least from what I see with the votes there. Anyways, what other comments are there? That accent ain't too shabby, RDJ, I'll give you that. I'll admit that before, I didn't know what to expect with this movie. Wasn't hyped, but wasn't like feeling nothing either. But now with the trailer out, it's certainly interesting. I wish they did show off a bit more surprises than what we already know, but I get they want to save those for the film and also the trailer for the general audience to draw them in. Am I on the hype train? Not really, but my ear is to the ground more than before. Okay, so like some people are, so it did intrigue people. Like, I think the best way to describe it so far from what I'm reading in the comments is that it got your curiosity, but did it get your full attention? That might be debatable at best. Let's see here. There is a lot to take in with the trailer. I like seeing the X-Men back in more accurate outfits, and from what we've seen and heard of RDJ, he could be cinema's best Doctor Doom yet. Although this movie does have a lot on its plate. Hopefully they can find a way to balance everything and still keep our attention. But Avengers Doomsday does have my attention. Sometimes that's all a trailer has to do. Also, my answer to whether or not I'm more excited for this or Dune 3, ¿por qué no los dos? Exactly. Like, I'm already starting to see some posts on social media where the general response that people have when it comes to either Dune 3 or Avengers Doomsday, it's basically people going like, holy crap, 2 cakes. So basically people are just excited for both, and we may be seeing an epic cinematic double feature going on that might even be on the scale of Barbenheimer, where people went crazy for both Barbie and Oppenheimer. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if people are going to go crazy for both Avengers Doomsday and Dune Part 3. All right, I think I'm going to read 1 or 2 more comments, and then we're going to go on our first break. So, as a huge MCU fan, I'm pretty optimistic, and this could have potential. So far, Robert Downey Jr. sounds solid as Doctor Doom, the action looks awesome, and it's cool seeing the Fox X-Men characters back again. However, I'm a little concerned with Steve Rogers coming, considering he's got his happy ending in Endgame. So overall, I'm optimistic. However, I think regardless of how this turns out, this is going to be a hit no matter what, and one of the biggest movies of 2026. Oh, absolutely. I think, like, worst case scenario, it's kind of like with last year with Avatar Fire and Ash. Like, maybe it's not the most significant movie that came out, but it still became one of the biggest hits of its time. So in that regards, we'll see what happens, but yeah, I don't think we would be concerned rather if Avengers Doomsday is going to be a hit or a box office bomb. It'll for sure make its money back at the very least. All right, let's see here. I gotta say, this looks pretty cool. Seeing the new generation of heroes unite rather than Captain America, the Hulk, and more, it's really neat seeing the new ones in action. To be very honest, I'm not gonna watch it since I'm not too interested because I already got my own Avengers needed. JB, BTS, Shakira, Madonna, and the Muppets performing together at the World Cup. It is awesome. Well, there you go. Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I am rather surprised that it didn't get the most optimistic response. Like, not everybody is saying that this is amazing or this is great. I mean, I feel like the anticipation was much bigger than the response that I'm seeing here so far, at least from the chat wall. But this is not to say that it's bad. Again, so far it looks like the general reactions is that this trailer has managed to get people's curiosity, but maybe not people's full attention just yet. But will it be able to do so? Well, it's still got plenty of time before that moment will come. So, with all that said, I'd like to go and repeat that if you are interested in checking out Avengers Doomsday, then keep in mind that the movie shall be released in theaters on December 18th. And we're going to go on our first break, and when we do come back, I actually have a personal story that I would like to go and share with you all. And unfortunately, this actually involves AI and how my voice somehow landed onto some AI slop. And I'll give you the full context of what has happened after this. Welcome back. Now, when it comes to my next story that I have here, this is actually going to be something related to me, actually. As you guys may know, I am not just a YouTuber and a podcaster. I am also an actor with experience with on-camera acting, as you may have seen in CBS Ghosts, as well as voice acting as well, since I've done numerous of voiceover jobs for commercials, for video games, and even for animation as well. However, there was one voice acting job I did a few years back, and since then, I never heard from it. But it wasn't until very recently, during the weekend, in fact, when one fan signaled to me about this project, basically asking, "Hey, Matt, I saw this trailer for this movie, and I noticed that in the credits, when listed in a few places, they say that it had your name on it, and your voice is also included, and it sounds very familiar to you. Is it true that you're involved in this?" So I took a listen, and I said that yes, it is. But I was honestly rather shocked to see the trailer itself. Not that the project came back after years from actually doing that job in the first place, but what it's in store with this particular trailer. So to go and show you what I mean, allow me to present to you the trailer for an upcoming animated movie by the name of Lumivia, The 5 Magical Wishes.
No, 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 stop! I will reinvigorate you, elevate you miserably ignorant donkeys via art and science. Oh, I miss my mum and dad. I miss my fat brother Donnie. You know, if I wished myself to be the handsomest, then perhaps Sandy would like me more.
Where and how did you get all this knowledge? Amazing! It's unbelievable!
Fear not, for I am Bluey, savior of the weak!
A magical wand?
Keep calm and enjoy being saved by me! I'm coming!
All right, Bluey. We'll see who's the greatest donkey now.
I'll save you! I have to do something!
I didn't know my brother was that brilliant.
We must all live in harmony. Unite and cooperate so that peace prevails.
He's like a cat with 7 lives.
You will get a taste of your own medicine.
Why am I here? Appreciated thief! Where are you? You think we're on a game show? Breathe! I plead thee! Wake up! Is this the other world? Think, Bluey, think!
I'm afraid something happened to him.
I will definitely give him what he deserves.
No! I'm trying to persuade the voting members of the Academy to award me an Oscar for Best Innovative Character.
So yeah, what you just saw was the trailer for a movie called Lumivia, The 5 Magical Wishes. Now, I don't know when this is going to be released. I heard that, well, considering that the animation studio is in Bahrain, I believe that's the country. I could be mistaken, but it is going to be premiering, or it will be shown in the Middle East. And yes, what you have heard, like throughout a good chunk of it, or maybe almost all of it, that was indeed my voice. And I actually play the main character in the movie. I play the role of Bluey. No, not like the popular dog that you see on Disney Plus. No, I am Bluey the donkey, a blue donkey that is considered to be the greatest, most wonderful donkey out there. At least that's what I consider myself, though. Some people might not say it, but I know that they are thinking it. So yeah, I do play the donkey, but one thing that, for those of you who are watching, you may have noticed, however, that the animation is just straight up AI. That everything about it is AI, and at first, when I saw it, I was in a bit of disbelief. It was like, I was thinking to myself, this can't be AI. Like, my voice is not being used for an AI project, is it? But the more you do look at it, the more that, yeah, it's inevitable. Like, there are plenty of examples that I could go and show you on how this is AI. Like, one example is actually like, yeah, right over here. Like, you got the one moment where Bluey is just relaxing, and you see that he has his hat on the side. Like, he's holding his hat, and then suddenly he switches around and whoop! Suddenly you see that? He just got a new hat. Like, he's got his old hat here, but now, like, hold on, I'll show you again. Like, just a little switcheroo, like he slides down. Whoop! There he is. New hat. Where the frick did he get the other hat? I have no idea. Apparently that's where his hat comes from. It just, he literally pops it out of his head. And then there's also another time where you see like you see in the next scene where Bluey is riding off in a car with his bride. You know, like they're just riding off, they're happily together. However, the woman in question, she constantly transforms. Like, it doesn't know what it wants to do. Like, they know that she has pink skin and blonde hair. And yet you see how she keeps transforming. Like, she's a bit of a person. She's got one donkey ear. And then like another, and then you get this other shot. Well, okay, she's kind of a donkey. You know, like, there's just so many different shots where she would just keep on transforming. Like even AI doesn't know how to portray my own freaking love interest. Oh my God, here, that's another example of the story of my freaking life. Oh boy. And then there's also another scene right over here. Okay, so like, we also got this moment where Bluey tries to save a little boy and then he falls down the river. So then when Bluey goes in to try to save the kid, he suddenly grows hands. Where the fridge does he get hands? And that's another thing that throughout the trailer you see, it just like keeps switching from hands to hooves. Like, okay, he's swimming, he has hands, and then suddenly, okay, we go in, there he is, Bluey is back, he has hooves again, and then suddenly, okay, grab my hand that I suddenly have now. He suddenly has hands to go and grab the kid in order to go and save. And this is not even to mention, like, look at all the different bubble effects it's trying to do. Like, it comes out as strings. And then over here, like, this, I gotta say, is absolutely gross because it's supposed to be water dripping from Bluey, but it looks like mucus. The way that all of it just stays there, you know? Like, all of it just sticks to Bluey. It looks gross, honestly. But yeah, this is all to go and highlight that, yes, the trailer that we saw here was indeed AI. Now, it seems like quite a shock that my voice or my voice acting would even be involved with an AI project. And I want to go and tell you right now that when I signed on to this project and when I went to go and work on this 5 Wishes movie, I didn't know that it was ultimately going to turn out into an AI film. In fact, I can guarantee you that nobody, not even the team behind it, knew that this was going to be AI. And that is mainly because of the fact that I recorded this in the spring of 2022. Like, do keep in mind that during that era, this was back when Turning Red was the latest animated feature that everybody was talking about, and it was also around the same time when Gilbert Gottfried passed away. I bring this up mainly because this was the era just before the modern AI trend became a thing. This was way before all the data centers would suddenly pop up in several different regions and taking away so much of our resources. This was way before so many of the main websites that would go and force AI integration because they spent billions of dollars upon it and they're not sure on what they could do with it in a way that people would be satisfied with. And this is also even way before the time of any of those modern AI tools would actually be used. Like, this was before stuff like Grok, or I would even say even before Elon Musk bought Twitter. And this is also even before ChatGPT really was a thing. And I actually do have a receipt to go and prove that this was done in the spring of 2022. Now, I first addressed this on a thread on Blue Sky. And one of the things that I brought up is actually the email in which I was hired to go and work on this project. Like, this was in a time when it was actually called Bluey and the 5 Wishes. And I want to go and highlight, like, if you cannot see it clearly here, you could go to my Blue Sky and you could go and check it out there to see a closer look at it. But this is to confirm that this is the email that hired me, and it was actually made on March 23rd, 2022, saying if I could be available on Friday, March 25th, and on Monday, March 28th. And yes, this is French, but do keep in mind, again, I'm from Montreal, Canada, so a lot of the studios are going to primarily be in French. So from there, this is just to go and prove to you that, yes, this was done back in 2022, and this was way before the time that AI was considered a real concern, let alone the fact that this is way before the fact that the concept of using AI in order to produce animation, that was not a thing. Like, that wasn't even considered like a real problem when I was doing this. So at that point, nobody knew that the movie would ultimately turn out into something like that. And also, I can even prove that beforehand, the animation studio was not into working with AI or anything like that. Because believe it or not, this is not the first time that I actually worked with this animation studio. And this is not even the first time that I actually voiced Bluey. Because that 5 Magical Wishes movie, that was actually a spin-off feature. It's a spin-off film to a movie that they have made before called Treasure Fellowship. And you'll see that movie's animation and that how it looks and everything like that, way different than how Lumivia came out. So let's just have a look. It's just a 90-second trailer, but you'll see the difference.
Won't live long. This is a map of the long-forgotten treasure. You go find it.
Don't be afraid!
What a shot! It's the best in the West. I've got a tempting offer you couldn't even dream of. We're looking for treasure.
Treasure?
Yes, a treasure that will change your life.
What were you two doing out there?
Someone took them out.
What are we going to do?
We need to catch that scoundrel.
You won't find him alone.
Let's go.
Give me the treasure. Betray me, and I'll kill all of you.
I have to do something.
Where are you going?
No one can survive that.
We're almost there. I've seen it on the map.
Look.
Some strange drawings about the treasure.
What have you done?
So that is a movie called Treasure Fellowship. And I'll just say right now, yes, this looks horrible. The animation is absolute crap.
And I must say, just speaking as Bluey here, I know it doesn't look like a cinematic masterpiece, but we actors need to have our start somewhere. I need to go and make my debut in some place, and if it is Treasure Fellowship, then so be it. It will help me go more uphill from here. Or, well, maybe not, considering that I did end up in AI slop, but after that AI slop, I can only go up from here.
But yeah, basically the animation is terrible, I agree, but at the very least, you could tell that it is animation made by animators. It's animation that people try to create. At the very least, it's not actual AI slop like we have just seen. And that is why when I first saw that particular trailer, when I saw the 5 Magical Wishes trailer, honestly, my first reaction and realizing that, oh, this is an AI generated animated movie, honestly, I had panic. I honestly freaked out because I was thinking that this could actually be something that could unironically have me canceled. Like, I could end up becoming like the next Jorge Gutérrez because of that. And I was honestly very worried if there was going to be some kind of drama hound that would suddenly go and pick this up and they would try to frame it as if I'm in serious trouble because of this. And they would say something like, AniMat's sold out to AI with this movie? What the heck? You know, like that kind of nonsense. So that's why I wanted to go and immediately address this. That's why I went and did this thread on Blue Sky to go and address everything and to go and address all of my thoughts on this entire matter. So that's why I took some action to go and immediately just let it all out, to be transparent, to be clear with everything, and especially to be clear with my stance on AI. And as you may know, I am completely against the use of AI to go and replace anybody in their jobs in order to go and produce entertainment. I'm against using AI as a replacement for animators, and I'm against AI replacing voice actors, and I'm against AI replacing anybody in order to go and perform that, like those respective jobs and stuff like that. So I just want to go and clarify that. And not to mention, yes, I honestly do feel ashamed that sadly my voice is a part of AI slop. Like, that is something that I was hoping that I could go and avoid. And I mean, keep in mind that yes, I have been offered a bunch of AI related jobs, and I was literally offered thousands of dollars in order to go and do those AI jobs, but I stood by my principles and I reject them all. And it's unfortunate to see that this actually occurred, even though this was all without my knowledge. This was all without any of my understanding that this would go and occur. And unfortunately, it sucks, sadly. It kind of feels like with my voice acting career, it kind of took like a bit of a bump in the road, and suddenly now I'm a part of an AI project. Which for me is very unfortunate, and it's just something that, you know, it's sad to see how I've been involved with something that is completely against my principles. And I just want to say from here, after I made that response on Blue Sky, I just want to go and give out a major thanks to all the love and support that I have gotten. I don't think there was a single comment that I've received that was negative or saying that it was my fault or anything like that. All of you have been very supportive, expressing a lot of sympathy. And I just want to say, I really want to thank you all for that moment. Because honestly, like, it was not easy to go and like admit that my voice was used in an AI project without me knowing. It wasn't easy to go and confess, but, you know, honestly, with the support that people have expressed, I just want to go and say thank you, everyone. But with that said, like, after I let that sink in, there was then a fear. Like, there was something that honestly, it really freaked me out when I realized that, no, I'm not in trouble because of any of this. In fact, the reality is that I'm actually a victim of the cautionary tales that I have been expressing. Like, honestly, like those stories that I would keep warning about in terms of of actors suddenly being involved with AI or being forced to be involved with AI without their knowledge or without their consent or anything like that. I mean, it was just recently that I talked about the story with Peppa Pig and how the kids were forced by Hasbro to try to sign a contract that would say that they want their voices to be used in AI and stuff like that. And I realized that, holy crap, this is something that happened to me. Because when I went to go and record like this 5 Wishes movie, I never thought, in fact, nobody ever thought that this would ultimately turn out to be an AI-generated animated film. But then suddenly, when that film was released, suddenly, oh my God, here is the big twist where now, yes, it is AI-generated, and my voice is heard loud and clear throughout the whole thing. So in that regards, I've now accepted that I did nothing wrong. I just wanted to go and have a good time, to go and, you know, play this egotistical donkey. And as a result, it ended up being fueled with AI. And I'm sure, like, as I stated before, it was a decision made long after my personal involvement with this project. So yeah, I mean, I'm rather shocked that, yeah, I am a victim of being part of AI without my knowledge or without my consent. And there's nothing that I could really do but there's nothing that I could do about it from here. I mean, ultimately, what I signed on to, it was a full buyout. So basically, the studio has the right to literally do whatever they want with the project in particular. I do not get a single say on it, but still, though, it is shocking and even a bit frustrating to know that suddenly, they would go and do whatever they want and do something with my voice that I am completely against. So I just thought I wanted to go and fully share my story about this entire thing. And I'm going to go and say right now, do I regret now being part of that project? Do I regret working on this 5 Wishes movie? Do I regret playing Bluey the Blue Donkey? And I'm just going to say, honestly, no, I'm not. Because during the time when I was recording for this movie, honestly, I didn't think much of it. And I mean, of course, like I said before, this was way before the time when the concept of using AI in order to create animation even existed. Honestly, I had a fun time playing as Bluey. Rather it be with Treasure Fellowship or with this 5 Wishes movie, I had a lot of fun. And I mean, it was great always being wanted a few times where I would go to the studio and actually record for an animated movie that I would potentially star. It was a great time. I have no regrets playing as Bluey, and I think Bluey is a fun character. It's just the circumstances that ultimately came out. It sucks. I think ultimately the best thing that I could do is just, I want to at least have this movie so that I can have some materials for my future demos, because I can imagine, I'm sure there are some bangers that I've done with Bluey in terms of my voiceover work that I can also include in my demos to showcase an example of my vocal performance and the kind of work that I've already done. Even if it is freaking AI, at least I know that my voice is not AI. So that's honestly the best thing that I could do with this project. All right, so with that said, we're going to go and take a break, but when we do come back, I'll go and ask you all about your thoughts on the whole thing. So you could save your comments. You can have a moment to go and think about in terms of what you want to go and say. But we're going to go and take a break so that we can refresh the timer on the ads so that when we do return, you'll have all the time to go and write down your comments and that I can go and read them. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back. Now let's go and see what comments you guys have to say here. All right, so I am truly sorry for this blatant stealing of your voice, Matt. Well, at least Ursula didn't do it. This trailer is beyond bad. It makes Food Fight look like Titanic. Speaking of AI misuse, I once flagged an AI video that stole the voice of Brian Tyler Cohen to his legal team, and they took out the egregious video in a matter of days. Also, about Lost Weird Media, I recently discovered the last Chuck Jones project, Timberwolf, done on Adobe Flash. Ever heard of that one? Well, I mean, it's a little bit of a side note right there, but yes, I did hear of Timberwolf. I think I even remember, back in the day, I might have actually seen it before. I remember watching it back when it was probably still fresh, or at least back in the days when before YouTube and people were relying on websites like eBaum's World or Albino Black Sheep and stuff like that for their videos. So yeah, I do remember seeing that. Let's see. I'm so sorry to hear that, Matt. None of this is your fault whatsoever on this. I do think in the future, it's best to stay away from this studio from now on, and hopefully you will find better gigs soon. AI has no place in the entertainment industry. Everything I made from my YouTube channel is 100% AI free, and show my love and support for the amazing folks in the animation industry, including voice actors. Yeah, I'm also shocked this happened to you, and I hope that AI bubble will be popped up very soon. Hey, thank you so much, man. Let's see. Oh man, I am so sorry. This is so weird. Did you have an NDA? What was the context for most of these lines? Because most of it doesn't make sense. Also, it sounds more like a parody heroic voice rather than a legit main character of a feature. Matt, you have a great funny voice, but I feel like you weren't given any direction. Like you were doing comedy, but it sounds like you were supposed to take your character seriously. I'm sorry for all this. Okay, well, to just go and give you some context about Bluey, keep in mind that the AI feature is a spin-off to an already established movie. And in the original film, Bluey is just this comedic sidekick. You know, he's more of a comic relief who is a lot more vanity than he is intelligent. You know, he's got more ego than brains. Like I remember in the original Treasure Fellowship movie, like one of the lines or one of the bits that I've done is just, "Oh, you silly boy, let me go and show you what 1 + 1 means. It's actually 11. You take the two ones and you put it together, thus making it 11. I'm sure that it doesn't make sense for you, but for a genius like me, I know about mathematics, and this right here is pure mathematics of how 1 + 1 is 11. You know, it's basically that type of character. And then I guess later on, they decided that they loved playing with Bluey so much in that movie that they wanted to make a whole feature based on that. I mean, like, I can't really explain the logic about the voice and stuff like that. All I know is that I did it and I got hired for it. So that's the best of my ability to go and answer about who Bluey is as a character. Okay, let's see. I have nothing much to say here except this is scummy. Like jumping Jesus on a breadstick. This is absolutely terrible. Not just the trailer, but also the way they treated you. Honestly, my best advice is to just lawyer up. This mess was beyond messed up, and you need retribution. In short, to go full Patrick Warburton, I prefer animated movies, big name or indie, made by a man. I know it's hit and miss. I like it. Nah, but for real though, I know that some people are saying that maybe I should lawyer up, I should find an attorney and stuff like that. Maybe I should go and sue, but to be very honest, guys, there's nothing that I can literally do. Like I said before, this was a full buyout job. And when you sign on to something that is a full buyout, that pretty much means that whatever you go and do, it ultimately will go and belong to the company. They will ultimately own the entire rights to that particular work that you have done. So all the recordings that I have done playing as Bluey the donkey, it all belongs to the studio, and under the contract that we have signed, they have every right to go and use it. So in a way, it's a little bit of a cautionary tale of what happens if you would go and sign on to something that is a full buyout, because ultimately the company would then go and do whatever they want with it, such as the case right over here where I did my voiceover work, and then several years later, they decided, you know what? Let's go and use AI for the animation. We already got the voiceover work, so let's just place it right here and see what happens. So that's ultimately what has happened, just to go and give you context about how things work in terms of the business side when it comes to acting. And unfortunately, this is something that is very common with voice acting. Like, if you're not part of the union, you will see the words full buyout that is prominently displayed in your contracts and stuff like that. I'll even go and say that, yeah, sure, full buyout jobs do sound appealing because they offer you some pretty big pay, but often it could come with a catch. In a way, it's almost like a devil's contract when you do sign a full buyout deal. All right, let's see what other comments do we have here. First and foremost, I condemn the makers of this project for resorting to AI in bringing this project to life, and they should have made that the 3D computer feature animation entirely by themselves. But I am curious from a recording standpoint, as a voice actor, is it me or did you borrow the dialect for Bluey from Archibald Asparagus from VeggieTales? If that's not the case, how did you approach the voice of Bluey? That is a very good question. And I mean, again, the last time I've done it was like over 4 years ago. And I mean, I guess what they wanted was an over-the-top British voice, I guess. I mean, the description that they put up, it's nothing like major. Like, I think that's really what it is. Like a cartoony British voice of a donkey that is very narcissistic, but not that intelligent. And that's what ultimately came up. I don't think there was any characters that I was actually inspired by. I just went with the flow and just decided, oh, you know what? If that's the description of what they want for Bluey, then I shall go and actually provide this voice. Let's see what happens. Oh, good. I actually got hired. Now I can go to the studio and use my tremendous voice and beautiful talent in order to go and produce this movie, or to go and help with the production of this feature. It's just too bad that it came out as AI slop. So, yes, that is not very pleasant to go and experience and discover. But again, there's only one direction that I can go from here, and that is up, because you can't go anywhere lower than AI. All right. Oh boy. See, this is why I said that I don't really regret doing it, because Bluey is a fun voice to go and do. Let's see now. Any other comments? Wow, this just sucks so bad. This is the kind of thing that aspiring voice actors like me just dread to happen. After seeing that trailer, everyone should owe Disney movies released after the AI plague began, like Wish and Hex, a huge apology. It also sucks because I already really like your voice, your over-the-top upper-class British voice for "We have Donkey from Shrek at home." Yeah, I mean, if there's any retribution, maybe one day I could go and reuse this voice for another voiceover project. I mean, if you're looking for that kind of voice, I know how to go and do it. I've had experience in doing so. So from there, I don't know, hopefully there can be a retribution for the Bluey the Donkey voice. Let's see now. I think I'll read a few more comments and then we're going to go on our next official break. What even is this trailer? I mean, I know you didn't know this until now. I can't believe you got involved with a project that has AI in it. I mean, it's literal AI, and not to mention, I feel like this trailer is so messed up. Probably the strangest thing about the trailer is how the donkey somehow switches between hooves and hands during the underwater scene. The only thing I did enjoy from this AI trailer is your Bluey voice, and I'm glad that you brought this up before things get crazy. Exactly, man. That's why, like, with how the internet is, and especially with how social media and not to mention the cartoon community can be so drama hungry, I might as well go and address this right now before any drama can officially happen that would go and put me into trouble. All right, let's go and read one more comment here. Let's see. I would say you of all people don't deserve to go through all that, but don't be so hard on yourself on it. In fact, I just kind of blame myself for actually finding it. Well, mainly the movie. I'm not sure the spin-off. I know I wasn't involved with it, but I think it'll be better not to upset people about it. I really am sorry you had learned about this, really. I know what you're talking about, by the way. Don't feel bad about yourself, because honestly, that discovery for the Treasure Fellowship, honestly, that was a great one. I'm not going to lie. And I'm going to go and say right now, this is going to be for like a future project, but I am thinking about doing an AniMat watches of Treasure Fellowship. I think that would be a very fun one to go and do. But I will say that, yeah, honestly, it's just a very unfortunate situation for everyone. And again, I want to say thank you all for the support that you've been showing in all this. Again, it's not easy to go and confess, especially as a voice actor. And I will go and promise you all that this mistake, and I really do hope so, but hopefully this mistake will not happen again in terms of my part. I know that with smaller actors like myself, it's easy to go and fall into that kind of trap where we would record on a project and, you know, suddenly it turns out, oh, it's AI. And I have heard I'm not the only one that has happened, you know? Like, I know I'm not the only voice actor out there who would sign on to a voiceover project and then they would later discover that it's actually AI generated. So in that regards, like, I know it is an issue, but, you know, I can only go up from there. And I will promise to you all that intentionally, this will not happen again, and I will still stand against AI. Now, with that said, we're going to go on to our next break, and when we do come back, we're going to go and lighten up the mood about a newly announced project that's still very early in the works, and at first, it might sound like a bad idea that's an immediate turnoff, but when you think about it, maybe it could have potential. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back. Now, on our next story, originally, I was thinking about using the Variety article that discussed about animation and how it is currently doing all the heavy lifting for Hollywood in order to make sure that the entertainment industry is still alive and well, but it still doesn't get the respect that it deserves. Now, this is a discussion that honestly, it's the same old song and dance number that we have heard many times before. It wasn't the first time that we've discussed about this subject, and I'm sure it won't be the last time either, which is why I kind of made a last minute decision to go and sacrifice that story in favor of discussing about the Avengers Doomsday trailer. But with that said, though, there is another story that I want to go and bring up because at first, it may sound like something that you absolutely do not want, considering that it's part of a very controversial subgenre. But again, if you listen closely to what this idea is about, then maybe it could have potential. So with that said, let's go and talk about the possible Tiana movie. Yes, Coleman Domingo, alongside Robert O'Hara, are currently in talks with Disney in order to become the writers of a live-action movie based on The Princess and the Frog. Now, at this point here, I know that immediately people are going to go and say, pass. Not interested whatsoever, because yes, this sounds like it's going to be another addition to the Disney live action remake trend. And especially as of right now, considering that people are just very turned off by what we have seen with the live action remake of Moana, I'm sure that it sounds like an idea that literally nobody would want, and probably the kind of thing that you'll see some people on social media just go on a crazy rant. But hang on, though. There is one thing to go and say that it may have potential. Oh, yes. There might actually be a good thing about it because, you see, what they are talking about here is not necessarily a remake of The Princess and the Frog. That is not necessarily the goal that they want to go and do with this. What they want to do, however, is actually more of a spin-off film starring Tiana. So to go and read you into the specifics over here, reading from my source on Deadline, It says here, hot off notching 2 Emmy noms this year, we heard that Coleman Domingo is looking to co-write an original live-action feature about Princess Tiana, inspired by Disney's animated 2009 feature, The Princess and the Frog. We understand per sources that the 2-time Oscar nominee will co-pen the feature with 2020 Tony-nominated slave play director Robert O'Hara. It's still early days on the project, particularly as far as deals go. So this is basically still very early. Like, this is still like in the very beginnings. But ultimately over here, it is suggesting the idea that it's not going to be like a remake or a live action remake of The Princess and the Frog, where we're just going to be having live action versions of characters like Tiana, Naveen, and Dr. Facilier. And then we're going to get like, just thinking about it right now, a live action remake of The Princess and the Frog would actually be pretty bad, because most of it is just going to consist of CG versions of Frog Tiana and Frog Naveen, and then you got like some of the other like hyper realistic characters they would do, like a hyper realistic Lewis, a hyper realistic Ray also, and then like you also would have to have a live action Mama Odie as well, and just weird CG dancing around to songs like Dig a Little Deeper or Friends from the Other Side and stuff like that. Oh boy, yeah, it is not a great idea whatsoever. But when it comes to this one, though, I would have to say, you know what? Maybe there is something here. Maybe this could have potential to actually to be good. And the reason why I say this is because I have already expressed, in fact, I just said this in my review of the live action Moana remake, that honestly, like the kind of live action remakes that I hate the most are the ones that are shot for shot, the ones that stay very close to the original, to the point that they make themselves completely pointless. Rather it be with The Lion King or How to Train Your Dragon or what we just got with Moana. Yes, there are those that when they try something different, it comes out absolutely horrible, kind of like with what we got with Pinocchio. But still, though, at least those can offer different flavors, and they can offer some new ideas that could be interesting compared to what we would get with shot-for-shot remakes that are completely unoriginal, that are uninspiring, and they ultimately just feel like a waste of time, because why would I want to watch those when I could watch the animated versions that are just better in every way? So that is why, with the prospects of having a live-action Tiana movie, honestly, I'm all on board, especially with the fact that I feel like Tiana is a character that Disney should be using more in order to go and tell stories. And this might be a bit of a hot take, but this is also why, honestly, I'm not that upset with the idea of taking down Splash Mountain and completely retheming it to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, so that we can actually have new stories featuring Tiana and what she could go and do. And this is not even to mention that, yes, I know that there was also the canceled project that originally Disney was thinking about making a Tiana series, and that ultimately ended up being canceled. Or at least it was said to be canceled, because I just want to go and say this right now. I don't know how true it is, and maybe this is just a little bit of a rumor, but believe it or not, folks, I have heard that allegedly that project may not be canceled. Oh, yes, that is actually, well, I'm not going to say that's true. That's just something I may have heard, that allegedly what they are doing is that they're not scrapping it entirely, and instead they're just going to be turning it into a special. Now, how accurate this is, or maybe this is not necessarily true, but I did hear, like, worst case scenario, if it is actually true, then maybe we will hear about it at D23 next month. Maybe they're going to go and make a big reveal that they're going to do a Tiana special. I have no idea. But the point is that honestly, with the kind of character that Tiana is, and that now she has gotten more and more love and fame from audiences, not just from Disney fans, but just from the public in general, down to the point where I could even argue that Tiana is one of the most beloved Disney princesses whose popularity could be on par with the originals like Snow White, Cinderella, and Aurora. That honestly, yeah, I personally, I feel like I am all in support of the idea that we can have more adventures with Tiana. And honestly, I even want to go and add, like, I know this is still very early in talks and stuff like that. I know this is very early. Actually, I've seen in the chat, apparently they're saying that this is what I've talked about. It's not a rumor, but apparently it is true that Steven Anderson has actually confirmed that this is a special that he has been working on. Oh, okay. Well, if that's actually true, then you know what? I'm actually excited to hear it. Then there actually is a good chance that we're going to hear about it at D23. I would love to know more info about what this is about. But anyways, even thinking about the prospects of Tiana, like, I don't know if Disney wants to go in the direction that they want Tiana to still be young, that maybe they want her to be like in her early 20s, or I don't know how Tiana, I don't know how old Tiana is canonically in The Princess and the Frog, but honestly, if they would accept the idea that maybe in this new version of this Tiana movie, if they would accept it, I would honestly love to see, some people are saying maybe 18, 19. Some people are saying she was 19. Okay. But I will say, though, if they could be open to the idea that maybe in this Tiana spin-off movie that she could be older, this would actually be a great opportunity to bring back Anika Noni Rose to play as her. Like, I know this is starting to become a bit of a thing where with live action remakes, they would bring in the original actors to play their original roles. You know, like it started with, with James Earl Jones reprising as Mufasa to, mixed results. And then in How to Train Your Dragon, we also got the same thing with Gerard Butler as Stoic. And then just recently with the Moana remake, we got 2 where Jermaine Clement came back as Tamatoa. And of course, we cannot forget about Dwayne Johnson coming back as The Rock. However, I will say that with Anika Noni Rose, I think, honestly, she could still be a great Tiana. If not, however, like, I like, if she cannot be Tiana, she could play as Tiana's mom. Like, either way, like, it would honestly be a great idea to have Anika Noni Rose to play, to, like, come back into this new movie, and that she would have a prominent role. And I say, and I do say, like, I don't mean like a cameo. I mean like a prominent role, because I know that she could be a tremendous actress. And I mean, if you're going to bring her on board to help out with a Princess and the Frog project, you know that she's really going to go all in with it. So yeah, like, I will say this. Maybe this is going to be a point where I might get backlash on this because I'm speaking positively to a potential Disney live action remake project. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the kind of thing that you're going to see terminally online trolls come after me and just say that I'm a Disney shill or whatever, to not go on some bombastic rant about this. But honestly, I'm not going to lie. I think this could be a potentially good idea. Like, if we are going to be getting a new project that will showcase Tiana from The Princess and the Frog, even if it is going to be live action, honestly, I'm all board on it. That does open the possibility that this could actually turn out to be good. And I mean, when it comes to taking individual characters and giving them their own movie, like I've seen with the Disney live action remakes where they can have some mixed results. Like I'll say right now, I am not a fan of the Maleficent movies. I think both of them are among the weakest of the Disney live action remakes. But when it comes to Cruella, however, I feel like that one is one of the better remakes, considering that, yes, it is true, there are some stupid moments, like trying to make some Batman thing going on where Dalmatians killed Cruella's mother and stuff like that. And yeah, I will admit that, like, whenever it tries to make a connection with 101 Dalmatians, it's kind of cringe. But if you can look past that, it's honestly a pretty solid film in itself, especially when you do have some pretty good performances, like with Emma Stone as Cruella. I would say, honestly, like, it's less it's less a retelling of 101 Dalmatians and more like an anarchist interpretation of The Devil Wears Prada. And if they can find a way to go and reinvent popular characters and they can go and actually create solid films out of them, then I could see the materials that they can have where they could take a character like Tiana and give her her own movie, and it could actually have a stronger chance to actually come out good than most of the live action remakes out there. Like, honestly, I feel like this will have much better prospects of possibly turning out as an enjoyable, worthwhile movie, more so than whatever they have coming up with the Tangled remake. So overall, I will say that, yes, I am very well aware that it is still very early in the talks, but I do see that there is a possibility that making a Tiana live action spin-off movie could actually turn out to be good. Now, of course, maybe I could be completely wrong, and maybe this will turn out to be another soulless piece of trash, kind of like with what we have seen with most of these live action remakes. But still, though, just think of the idea of a new story featuring Tiana. I could see the prospects of it. I could see the potential. So that's why, personally, at the very least, I am open-minded to see what can be in store. But rather, if this thing does happen, we'll have to wait and see. All right, so now with that said, I would like to pass this down to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about the idea of a live action Tiana spin-off movie? Do you guys think it's a great idea? Are you opposed to this because this is another live action remake? And you know what? Why don't we go and actually make a poll on this one? This feels like something I want to go and ask you all. So I want to go and ask, do you like the idea of a Tiana hold on a sec. Yeah, a live action spin-off movie? So I'll write down yes, and then I'll write down no, and we'll see what, or maybe not like the idea. Do you, actually, here, I'll rephrase it. It's not if you like it, but do you think a Tiana live action spin-off movie has potential? Whoops. Or do you think, hold on, maybe, I don't know. I just realized I have limited, crap. Okay. You know, honestly, I don't realize that the question actually has a limited amount of words, but, let's see. Oh, yeah, you know what? Screw it. Do you like the idea of, hold on, dang it, I have to make sure that everything is written well. I'm sorry for the delay on the chat wall section. The idea of a live action. Okay, there we go. Okay, so do you like the idea of a Tiana live action spin-off movie? So I'll write down yes and no, and let's see what the chat wall has to say now. Sorry for the long wait on this. All right, so it says here, I'll be honest, as much as I'm not a fan of these live action remakes in general, I feel like this might have potential. I could see how this could work to continue to expand on Tiana as a character and see them do something new and not have it be a full-on remake of The Princess and the Frog, so I'm cautiously optimistic about this. Personally, I'm hoping maybe this could be similar to something like Cruella or even Christopher Robin. I know a lot of people like that too. Exactly. Like, Christopher Robin is actually another great example where it's mainly about one character in one of Disney's movies and try to develop a new story. And Christopher Robin is actually another example that it actually did work out, and it actually did turn out to be one of the better, if not one of the best of these live action remakes, even though technically it's not a remake per se, but the existence is, like, the reason why this was made is pretty much for the same thing, and that actually worked out a lot better. All right, let's see what other comments people have to say. While I am basically burnt out of these live action remakes, a Tiana spinoff does sound promising. Coleman Domingo definitely catches my eye, and while a vast majority of remakes people don't like, it's ones where Disney lets the director to do their own thing that stands out, more like Cruella and Christopher Robin. And if the movie will be like those, then maybe we let them cook. Waka waka. Okay, yeah, but do keep in mind though, with Coleman Domingo and Robert O'Hara, they're not going to be directing this. They're just the writers, or at least they're talking to go and sign up to be the writers. We don't officially have a director as of yet, so just thought I'd let you know. Let's see. For me, I am divided on this. Sure, this thankfully will not be a full-on remake of The Princess and the Frog, but I just don't see what direction they can go with this, especially if they are going to dig a little deeper into Tiana's character, especially when we already know her backstory. But with Coleman Domingo writing this did catch my attention, so I'll keep my eye on this one. Side note, as someone who has been on Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disneyland, it is a lot of fun. Honestly, I have yet to do so. I mean, the closest that I've been so far is Splash Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland last year. But that's what, you know, when the day comes that I do go back to either Disneyland or Walt Disney World, that's one of the main things I want to do, is to go and ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And so far, we did get the results of the votes. And interestingly enough, I'm not going to say the grand majority, but I will say most of you who have voted said that, yes, you do like the idea of a live-action spin-off Tiana movie, to which 68% of you who have voted said yes, while 32% of you who have voted said no. Very interesting results here. All right. Let's see what other comments we got. Let's see. The fact that this isn't necessarily a remake is already a huge plus. This can be more like Christopher Robin, where it just happens to star a character who started in animation, rather than just regurgitating the same story just to add more gold in Scrooge McDuck's money pool. I may still need more info before getting excited, but it's a start. Exactly. This thing is a start, and there is a very good chance we're not going to be hearing about this or see the release of this, if it does get made, by the way, for like several years. If this does happen, then there's a strong likelihood that it's going to be released, give or take, in like 2030 or something like that. If this does get confirmed, give Disney some time to go and actually make it before actually seeing if it is going to be good or not. Let's see what other comments we got here now. Let's see. Okay, I'll go with this one. Honestly, the premise of a live-action adaptation of a pre-existent franchise actually reminds me of the 2018 Christopher Robin film, if anything. Even if I haven't seen it, I did hear it's very good. either way, I'm actually kind of interested in the prospects of the film. Like I said before, I at least hope it could come out before the animated Tiana special that Steven Anderson is working on. Oh, it will. Like, again, want to reiterate, folks, this is still in very early talks to see if they can get writers on this. I'm sure that whatever Steven Anderson is working on, it is way more ahead than this spin-off live action movie. So it is for sure that we're going to be getting the special before the spin-off live action film. All right, I think I'll read one or two more comments, and then we'll go and take our next break. I find The Princess and the Frog to be a really solid Disney animated film. So when I heard about this Tiana movie, I don't know how to feel about it. On one hand, I could see this be potentially as good as Cruella and something worthwhile. On the other hand, this does still count as part of the live action remake catalog, and it could end up as bad as Maleficent. This could go either way for me, so I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic about this. Very fair, dude. Very fair. Let's see now. See, I think if they want to make a Tiana movie separate from The Princess and the Frog, then that sounds cool. My concern is the company might meddle and make it a remake in order to fix issues people had in the past. I hopefully want it to be the jazz equivalent to Wicked with Tiana and Lottie's friendship. Oh, that would be interesting, because I know with Lottie, she's, funny enough, I've been seeing a little bit more and more love for Lottie. And I mean, I can understand, like, because she kind of subverts the expectation of what you would think about the rich kid or something, or like the privileged white kid in this story. But no, she is actually shown as, like, even though with her wealth and privileges, she's still a very good and supportive friend to Tiana. And yeah, honestly, like, that could be one separate thing right there altogether. It's like, okay, we've seen a lot of like what works with Tiana, but now we see more and more a lot of appreciation for Lottie. And I'm not gonna lie, she's a very cute character. Like, if she would ask me out, I would not hesitate, and I'll just say yes, you know what I mean? Yeah, okay, like maybe she could be a little bit in the waifu or crush category. I mean, I'll admit it. I mean, like, either with Tiana or Lottie, you can't go wrong. Okay, but anyways, with that said, we're gonna go on to our next break, and when we do come back, we are gonna go and have another AI discussion, but this isn't gonna be about me. This is actually gonna be an update in regards to a previous controversy that recently happened, so stay tuned for that one. Welcome back. Now, on our next story, we're going to go and discuss about a controversy that has recently happened. In fact, I would even say it's one of the biggest animation controversies that has happened this year, and that is with Jorge Gutierrez and his involvement with AI with the Punky Duck series. And unlike my situation in which I didn't know when signing up to this that the project would ultimately become AI, Jorge Gutierrez was very well aware of the fact that the project is with AI and that he would go and use the technology. So you can imagine that right after the announcement, Gutierrez got massive backlash to the point that literally just about 36 hours later, he would put out an announcement that he backed away from the whole project and put out an apology for not understanding why artists and animators are against AI in the first place. Or at least that's kind of what he said before. I will get to it a little bit later. But believe it or not, folks, we actually got an update to the story. Yes, we actually did receive a new chapter, because you'd think it would be all over and everybody can move on, and that hopefully Jorge Gutierrez can just go back to his projects that hopefully would not involve AI whatsoever. But he did return to go and have a chat with Variety in regards to that experience. Most namingly, in terms of all the threats that he has gotten. Yes, this article on Variety discussed with Jorge Gutierrez about his experience during the controversy going from announcing the Punky Duck project all the way down to officially leaving Amazon to separate himself from his involvement with AI in this. However, and this is not the first time that he did brought this up, because he did also mention this back when the controversy was still fresh. He discussed about the fact that while he was facing backlash, he also received a lot of death threats and he was being doxxed. And it wasn't just him either, but his family was also involved, where some angry fans also went after his wife and also went after his kid. To go in to read you some details about it in my source on Variety, it stated here that when it was announced that Gutierrez was taking the Punky Duck job, his peers didn't see him as a hero working for the cause, but as a defector. Immediately, the death threats started against him and his wife, as did the publishing of his home address. He then went on to go and say right here, what I quickly learned is that this is a black and white issue. You're pro or you're anti, mainly talking about AI. There's no in between right now. He adds, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. My intentions were good, but I was taking my family to hell by doing this. So Gutierrez backed out of the project. It was a Wednesday announcement, he recalls, of his hiring. Thursday, I said, I'm listening to everyone. On Friday morning, I pulled the plug. He even stated here that Amazon had no hard feelings when he walked away. They said, you do whatever is best for your family. He says, I'm thinking I'm first creator to, I think I'm the first creator to kill their own show a day and a half after announcing it. And to go and discuss about the thing when he mentioned about his good deeds, or that that he had good intentions when doing it, this is actually highlighted right at the start, in which it says here, the director of the Book of Life had watched generative AI quietly move into every animation studio in town, and he had a bad feeling about it. There aren't enough artists overseeing this stuff, he thought. So when Amazon MGM Studios offered Gutierrez the lead on Punky Duck, one of 3 series under its new Gen AI Creators Fund, he took the job, seeing it as part of a mission. I thought, I'm going to make sure artists are guaranteed a seat at the table. I'm going to make sure this is driven by artists. Okay. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe I have mentioned this before when I first talked about this controversy back when it was still relatively new. But let's be honest, folks. I think it really goes without saying that no matter what the situation is, especially when discussing about anything that is related to animation, there is no circumstances where it is okay, where we should be handing out death threats, and especially to resort to stuff like doxing. It's a moment that I gotta say that honestly, it's rather shocking that Jorge Gutierrez would be receiving that kind of thing. And listen, I'll say right now, I completely condemn what Jorge Gutierrez has done. I think it is not cool whatsoever with him immediately signing on board to this AI project and leading the Punky Duck series and stuff like that. That, I believe, is not cool. But what's not cool either, and what I would consider to be even worse, is that people would go and respond with these extreme actions where they would go out of their way to not just send these threats to Gutierrez himself, but also towards his family, like his wife and his kid. What do they have to do with this? Honestly, it would have been much better off if you just left them alone. And especially when it comes to doxing, like at that point, I don't see, like at that point, if you got to go and resort to doing that, then you have completely lost the plot. At that point, like, now you're just taking things way too far. And even if it's for the cause against AI and stuff like that, there's no winning in that situation. Like, you pretty much portray yourself as much of the bad guy, if not worse, than whatever actions that Jorge Gutierrez has done. And yes, I know these actions were done by a small minority, but it's still a concern, however, that this did happen in the first place and that this still needs to be called out. And what's even more, by the way, I would say that this is shocking that this happened, but at the same time, I feel like it's also not shocking because, unfortunately, I think we are at the point where the toxicity in the cartoon community is at that region. You know, it really is at the point where, yeah, under certain circumstances, they would go and resort to sending out death threats or even dox those that they feel like would deserve it based on whatever animation ideology that they may have, or even any AI related ideology that they may also have. I mean, keep in mind, again, even though this is from a minority, we are talking about a fandom that would get massively upset over such minor, insignificant things. Like the fandom is basically the master of making mountains out of a molehill, and they would be outraged over every small thing that would inconvenience them. Like, they would get mad over a drop of a hat. It really doesn't take that much to go and piss off the cartoon community. And I think the best examples is with what we have seen with Shrek 5 and Hexed. I mean, keep in mind, as I'm recording this, those movies are not out in theaters. And yet, they have already gotten massive backlash with not just their trailers, but also with their character designs. Like, we're legit talking about character designs, a small fraction of what makes an entire animated feature. And these are like character designs for movies that are not out yet. And yet those are enough for the cartoon community to cause massive controversy, to go and rage out and just go on an all-out attack on these projects, on the people that have worked on them, against the studios and all that kind of stuff. If those little things are enough to spark outrage within the toxicity of the cartoon community, then you can bet that within that toxicity, they would go and take their actions even more extreme when they hear something more serious, like an admirable animation figure like Jorge Gutierrez wanting to go and use AI. So in that regards, yes, it doesn't matter what Jorge Gutierrez has done. We should all be condemning any form of death threats or any form of doxing that would go and occur. Like, none of those actions should have happened. Like, there are ways that, there are easier ways to go and condemn Jorge Gutierrez for what he has done, but resorting to these kinds of threats, that's not it. Though those are not helpful whatsoever, and they are a detriment to the cause. But with that said, however, even though I do fully condemn all of those actions, and I'll even say that Jorge Gutierrez did not deserve any of that, I honestly feel like this article is not really doing anybody favors either. And one major thing I'll even say is that, honestly, I feel like it's not really much of a help towards Jorge Gutierrez himself. And that's mainly because I feel like when I read this article and when he would go and talk about this, it feels like he hasn't fully learned his lesson about why AI is bad for animation, and that I feel like with my biggest takeaway from this, outside of how death threats and doxing are wrong, is that Jorge Gutierrez is one of those people that unironically believe that AI is the future. And a big part of it is because of the fact that I feel like he's taking he took his own narrative and now has twisted it where he's framing the people against AI as the antagonists in this story, especially with the fact that he tried to explain that, oh, I wanted to go and create something with AI for the artists. I was doing it for them. I wanted to go and help artists so that they can have a seat in terms of the discussions of AI taking over the industry. He would go as far as that. And not to mention, if we do go back to the initial apology that Jorge Gutierrez has done, like he has stated, and like to go into my source on Animation Magazine, to go in the initial comment that had him like back out from Punky Duck altogether, he has stated here, learning a lot from many of you. Thank you. Lots of information that I'm digesting wholeheartedly. I am absolutely understanding the concern of using AI to assist an animation pipeline. For all those showing me grace, I really appreciate it. I have a lot to think about. To which then, a few hours later, he then stated here, I have decided to drop out of the AI program at Amazon. I will not be making a Punky Duck series. Actions speak louder than words. My intent was to showcase artists both new and seasoned, both inside and outside the studios, driving this new tech. My sincere apology to those I upset. I promise to do better moving forward. Thank you for your patience with me. I will try harder. Now, this right here makes it sound like, okay, he backed out of the project because now he understood why AI is bad for animation. He understood why many people, if not most people in animation, are opposed to using AI. To which then we suddenly move to the Variety article, and now it sounds like he completely changed his narrative, where he went on by saying that, oh, well, I had to quit because of all the threats that I have received. That's the main reason why I had to go and bail out. Now, again, I know that Jorge Gutierrez has stated while the controversy was hot that he was receiving a lot of death threats and he was being doxxed and that his family was also being attacked and stuff like that. But still, though, it does feel like he's kind of changing the narrative where even though he says that, oh, this entire AI situation is black and white, I honestly feel like it's more Jorge himself who is making it black and white, and that he is portraying himself as the innocent one who's doing nothing wrong with joining AI, while those who were against him were the villains in all this, especially those who have committed the bad actions. And yes, again, I do agree that those who did commit those bad actions, like making the threats and doxing and stuff like that, they are worse than Jorge Gutierrez. But still, though, I can't help but feel like with the way that Variety is kind of like with the way that they have formed this article right over here, it does make it look like Jorge is saying that he's the good guy with wanting to use AI to help the artists, while those against him are bad. And that also brings up another massive issue here, and that is with the article itself, which I can't help but feel like it's kind of framed as a hit piece against people who are opposed to AI. Like, I can't help but feel like if this article ever does come back up in the future, it's pretty much going to be used by pro-AI people who want to antagonize anti-AI people, basically saying, oh, would you look at this here? Would you look at the savagery that these anti-AI people would do? Look at this innocent animator who had all the good intentions to let artists and animators have a voice in AI, but this is the treatment that he got right over here. Oh, this is these people against AI, this is why they're the bad guys. This is why we shouldn't be listening to them. We need to make sure that AI is in the future. Disregard what those AI people, what those anti-AI people think. We know that AI is the future, and those deniers are just trolls. I feel like it's going to be a situation where it's ultimately gonna turn into that at the end of the day. But the thing is that I know that at best, the perspective, even within animation, it is pretty mixed. In fact, there is an article, another article from Animation Magazine that did put up a very good point about how, at best, it feels like a pretty mixed point of view of what AI is and its place in animation. To which it says over here, the debate is heated within the animation community as studios and individual creators explore the technology's production and design generation possibilities, and human artists worry over the rise of a new threat to their jobs in an already challenging sector. Major studios have forged partnerships with Gen AI tool developers and sued over for using their IPs without permission. Film festivals and exhibitors face backlash for platforming AI productions, whose studios built around AI pipeline emerge. Indies and experimental outfits from the established label, indies and experimental outfits from established labels alike. Gen AI is either the gateway to a liberating future for animation, simply the latest filmmaking evolution like CGI, color, or sound, or an apocalyptic plague of creativity, depending who you ask. So that's pretty much at best that there are even some people within animation that they could have those mixed perceptions about it. And as I stated before in this episode, I am completely against it. And that's why overall, I feel like with this Variety article, it's doing more harm than it is good. I mean, yes, it is definitely important to go and call out the death threats and the doxing that Jorge Gutierrez has received. In that regards, nobody is a winner in that situation, and it's just going to make things worse where, like, all it does is, yes, it would completely make those against AI look bad and completely unhinged, when in reality, it's just a part of the problematic aspect that is within the cartoon community. But on the other side as well, I feel like this is just going to go and cause more trouble in the debate with AI, rather it be with Jorge Gutierrez, now pretty much seen as like a pro AI guy, where basically he has the mindset that AI is the future. And then we also got this article here that, like I said, is a hit piece against those who are against AI. And I think, honestly, this is a prominent example where, honestly, it really deflects what people say when they said bullying works. Because I know, like, when Jorge backed out from Punky Duck, that's what many people said, that, yeah, bullying works. But now looking back at it and seeing articles like this show up, it honestly makes me say, does it though? Do you think it really does work? Like, does it actually work in making Jorge Gutierrez realize that AI is actually bad? Or do you just want to go and take the surface level victory over the fact that you got an AI project canceled? Like, which one is it? If anything, I really do feel like this is the opposite. This whole controversy has fully shown that no, bullying doesn't work. In fact, bullying actually has made things worse, especially for people who are against AI. So yeah, I feel like overall, this thing right here is just going to be making things worse for everyone. It makes things worse for people against AI, and it also makes things worse for Jorge Gutierrez as well. So with that said, now I would like to pass this over to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you think about this update on the Jorge Gutierrez controversy? I would like to know what you think on this matter. Okay, let's see. Look, as much as I think Jorge Gutierrez absolutely did not deserve the death threats, and especially his family didn't deserve them either, and the cartoon community should be ashamed of themselves, but to be honest, it still doesn't change that Jorge really is trying to defend himself and trying to paint some of the people who are against AI as bad people. It doesn't make him look good, and it's really making me question his future. Also, another person that deserves to be called out is George Lucas. Yeah, considering considering that George Lucas did recently reveal that he's one of those that believes that AI is the future. And honestly, it kind of makes me feel thankful that maybe it's for the best that Disney takes Star Wars away from George Lucas, because if he still kept it, then, ooh boy, it probably would have been in a worse state than how Disney is handling it right now. Like, with what George Lucas recently said, you know he would want to go and re-release the original Star Wars movies and try to implement AI onto them. Let's see now. Look, we all know by now that death threats and doxing on Jorge and his family is never okay to do. I'm still not a fan of his choice, but I won't go after him. But for the cartoon community, I do worry for my friends at Disney Animation, all because the cartoon community's stupid hate boner towards Hex and falsely accusing the film as AI when it clearly isn't. The best thing I could do is keep supporting the artist. I know Josie still appreciates my support recently. She knows how much. And, well, the comment stops there. Okay. She knows my support. Okay. Now I understand. Anyways, to be honest, I was actually expecting the next story would be about that new Disney preschool Fox cartoon that presumably was assisted with AI. Yeah, I did hear about that stupid crap, and yeah, that is also cringe of Disney to do. As much as I've lost respect for Jorge, and the initial backlash is justified, especially with all the harassment he has gotten, even to the point that he and his family have gotten death threats, it's just unacceptable in any way. But I mean, why am I not surprised that they haven't learned from all those other incidents? Exactly. It's kind of the problem where the fandom is growing more and more reactionary, and that's why they would go and resort to using these kinds of actions. And if we don't call them out anytime soon, then the worse it's ultimately going to become. Anyways, I completely understand on why of where Jorge is coming from. Death threats and doxing are never okay, especially in this day and age. However, the way he twisted the narrative makes us anti-AI people look like the villains. I even have to agree with the whole bullying works trick is nothing more but a fluke. Moral of this controversy, please be civil and be mature about calling out the bad actions. Exactly. It's like what I said. There are ways that we could go and call out Jorge Gutierrez in a way that can be a little bit more respectful, or at the very least be more respectful than just sending out death threats and doxing. Like, is it really that hard to ask to not do that? Seriously, man. All right, I think I'll read, I think I got time for one more comment, and then we're going to go on to one more break. Even though Jorge tried to use AI and should be called out for being greedy, but death threats and doxing is never okay, regardless how pissed you are, and never do it, as well as staff members, staff members of Hex, said and confirmed there isn't any AI in the film. It is different from the Owl House. Plus, don't forget Netflix is investing in AI as well. Exactly. But, you know, that's what happens when you're terminally online. And that's what happens when you're way too much on social media, especially in toxic places like Hex, sadly. So, again, honestly, it's really unfortunate what happened to Jorge Gutierrez. He did not deserve any death threats or doxing or anything like that. But at the same time, though, it's not really helping out when he's also antagonizing AI people at the same time. So with that said, we're going to go on to one more break. And when we do come back, we're going to get into the grand finale and discuss about what many people are saying right now is one of the worst reviews ever made, or at least one of the worst reviews in years. So stay tuned for that. And now, everyone, it is time that we are going to go and cap off this episode with the grand finale. And with this grand finale, we actually got some online drama going on, as many people are now saying that we have recently gotten what is possibly the worst review on the internet since the nostalgia critics The Wall. Yes, it is bad on that level there. And honestly, this was something that I was just not familiar with at first. Like, I've heard about it here and there on social media, but the more I went down this rabbit hole to know the context of what was happening, the more that it just got worse and worse. And oh boy, honestly, it not only reflects on it not only reflects about how bad this review is, but it also reflects upon how bad the current landscape of reviews are nowadays. So without further ado, let's go and talk about the Alex Meyers controversy. Yes, to make a long story short of it, this is actually in regards to Alex Meyers' recent review of Obsession, to which he's gotten so much backlash over it that he had to go and delete it from his platform. Now, that's basically the quick summary of it. And I'm just going to go and say right now, I know that at this point, there have been plenty of videos that have discussed about this matter. And there have been plenty of people who have talked about how bad this review is and basically condemning Alex Meyers, and not just with what he has said in Obsession, but also him as a reviewer and as a YouTuber, now pretty much considering him as straight up cringe. And there are plenty of those that you could go and check out. Like, if you want to go and have the full details about what has happened exactly, then I highly recommend you go and check out like some great examples I can point out to. There's Anthony Gramuglia, in which he did a great video analyzing it. There's also Movies with Mark, who also did a very solid video discussing about the controversy. So if you want to know the full context of it, I highly recommend you go and check those out. But I will go and do the best of my ability to go and summarize to you what has happened, along with providing, of course, my opinion on the whole case. So, to go and give you an example of what has happened here, first, let me just go and tell you a little bit about Obsession, especially for those who may not have seen the movie. Because Obsession is one of those films that, on the surface, it seems like it is presenting to you with something crazy, but then when you look into the deeper layer of what this movie is actually about, that's when it reveals something that is not only more clever and more thought-provoking, but also that it's really not what it seems, and it's kind of like the opposite of what's on the surface. And in return, it actually kind of makes it even scarier. Because on the surface with Obsession, you would think that Nikki, the main girl of the movie, is the monster, considering that she turned into this psychotic yandere, and that the main guy, Bear, is the victim who just made one innocent wish with the One Wish Willow, and then suddenly is fallen into a situation where he is the victim of the term, be careful what you wish for. Oh, excuse me. Just by talking about it has me choked up here. No, I kid though. No, but basically that's what it seems on the surface, where Bear is the victim and Nikki is the monster. But in actuality, when you do see the movie and when you see what it actually talks about, it's actually the opposite, because Nikki is actually the victim, because it's not really her that becomes the psychotic yandere. It's whatever is in that One Wish Willow that is possessing her to become that psychotic yandere. And there are even times in the movie where you see like who is actually Nikki. Like, she does come out from time to time. It's like, help me. But then suddenly like the psychotic yandere then goes back to it. And then you got Bear, who is actually the monster in this, because he is portrayed as what I like to call as the nice guy TM. Basically, someone who's not actually a nice guy, but basically someone who is trying to be nice as a means to an end, especially when trying to be nice to a woman, where he treats his kindness, his empathy, his niceness as nothing more as just a checklist of trying to do things correct in order to get the reward of getting a girlfriend or having sex with that particular girl. And the more you see of Bear's true personality, the more you see of who Bear is, the more that you actually realize, oh, he is actually the monster in this. He's the one who is entirely in the wrong, despite the fact that he's often seen as the nice guy TM, and his action is often out of cowardice. In a way, like, some could even say that his cowardice is what ultimately makes him the monster, because he wouldn't stand up to become the real man and to go and actually take action on it. So that basically gives you a bit of an idea of like the whole thing with Obsession and why is it that it's getting so much love and success recently. Enter Alex Meyers. Now, this is a YouTuber who has gotten pretty popular and has actually managed to get over 4 million subscribers, to which he has managed to find a niche of making reviews featuring his animated avatar, where he would go and talk about things that are rather easy to comprehend, like he wouldn't usually go and review things that would have like deep philosophical meanings or anything like that. He would just be reviewing things like family films, animated movies, Disney Channel original movies, Netflix rom-coms, teen dramas such as Riverdale, basically stuff like that. That's where he got his niche. That's where he got his fame. And that's where he pretty much got his whole YouTube career. So when entering upon Obsession, that's where, honestly, things really do fall apart, because he treats Obsession the same way he would regularly treat whatever he would usually review, whether it be the stuff like teen dramas or Disney Channel original movies, where all he would look at is just the surface level stuff. He would just be seeing the surface level aspect of Obsession, where he would keep seeing Nikki as the where he would keep seeing Nikki as the monster, and he would often portray Bear as the innocent one. But hold on, however, it's one thing to go and have a bad take and maybe not go and fully understand Obsession. And it's perfectly fine if you don't like the movie. If you don't think Obsession is a great film, if you don't think it's well made, that's perfectly fine. You can have whatever opinion that you may have. The issue here, it's not that Alex Meyers had a bad take where he didn't fully understand the movie and that he expressed that he didn't really like it. The real problem is that Alex Meyers had a very misogynistic look into Obsession, down to the point where many people have actually portrayed Alex Meyers kind of like Bear, that the way that Alex Meyers would talk, the way he would talk about these characters, there's a lot of it that he kind of portrays himself as a bit of a creep that is similar to Bear, especially when in the grand majority of the review, despite, like, even though he said at the very end, like, okay, yes, I know Bear is the bad guy, he would actually go as far as to go and sympathize with him. Like, there are numerous of times where he would express that he relates to Bear. And then when you have Nikki, he like, not only would he would say like, oh, she's the monster, she's the crazy yandere or whatever, you would often see this guy like simping her in a really creepy way. In fact, he would keep objectifying her, saying, always portraying Nikki as the sexy Latina. In fact, if you would want to go and check out his review of Obsession, you could make it a drinking game where every time Alex Meyers would go and talk about Nikki as a sexy Latina, you might as well go and take a drink. So from there, Alex Meyers would just keep on he would keep on sympathizing with Bear, keep portraying him like, oh, I relate to that, man. I understand how that is. And he would keep portraying Nikki as like, oh, like, oh, she's the sexy Latina. It's like, I'll admit I'm guilty of that because I would totally simp for her. That's why a lot of people got a bad taste from that Obsession review. Again, it's not just the fact that he had a different opinion and that he didn't like it. It's the fact that, in a way, he was being a lot like Bear and that he was providing a very misogynistic view onto Nikki, that basically he was acting like the nice guy TM and used that approach in order to go and slam the feature. In fact, I'm actually going to go, I know this is going to be a big statement, but I'm just saying, this is honestly the reason why women have trust issues when it comes to dating men. It's because of people like Alex Meyers. Because in his review, his instinct is to immediately go and fully defend the guy while portraying the woman as the one who is at fault. Even though the whole point of the movie itself is to show that the actions of the man are what's causing all this problems to go and occur. Like, even though the movie is saying that Bear is the villain of this, that his actions are what made him the bad guy and are what made him the creep to want to do things with Nikki without her true consent or anything like that, Alex Meyers would go and say that he would go and immediately sympathize with Bear, saying that, oh, he didn't do anything wrong. I understand where you're coming from. You're just a lonely guy. And then he would go and say that, oh, whatever bad things happen, it's because of Nikki. And that he would keep objectifying her because she's nothing more than the sexy Latina. And that's it. And again, this is exactly why women have those trust issues, because there are actual people that are like Bear, such as Alex Meyers, who would say that it's women's fault for whatever actions that would come from a man. And that's why he has received significant backlash of it. But wait, though, there is more to this story, because initially the thing is that his response was not out of an apology. It's actually in regards to this video, because afterwards he made a 5-minute video in which he basically was just saying, sorry you feel that way. It's basically a non-apology video where he didn't apologize to his own actions. In fact, he actually lashed out to his own audience, saying that, oh, all you're doing is just proving my point, and even throwing his own writers under the bus, saying that, well, one of my writers is a Latina, so that makes those jokes okay. And on a side note, I just want to say that, look, I get with Alex Meyers that he's more of a nostalgia critic type of reviewer, where he would go and summarize the movie, throw in a few of his criticisms, and make jokes about it along the way. But there's just something off about the idea of a review having multiple people writing on it, even though you're there to hear about this one guy's thought. I don't know. For me, I know Alex Meyers is not the only one, but it kind of honestly makes him a bit disingenuous as a reviewer. It kind of makes me question if if you have several of those, if you have other writers working on your review, then is it actually your opinion that you are expressing? I don't know. There's just something I feel like it's a little bit off from there. So yeah, with this initial apology video, he would go and lash out on that. He would lash out on his fans. He would throw his own people under the bus. And as you can imagine, that only added fuel to the fire, which as a result, that's when Alex Meyers caved in and he decided to go and not just delete his review of Obsession, But at the same time, he also deleted the response video, and he stated, reading from my source on this Reddit post, to which he stated, "I have taken down both videos relating to obsession. I am sorry to those who were hurt by them. I will be more mindful of my words and jokes in the future." So basically, he put out an apology, and I don't think he did release anything else after that, or at least as of this video. But yeah, it did leave quite a massive stain to his reputation. And I'm not gonna lie, folks, I've honestly never heard of Alex Meyers prior to this. Honestly, I haven't heard of who this guy was. I wasn't familiar with his style. And honestly, like, when I got a little bit more interested in knowing what this whole controversy was about, I did look upon his YouTube channel and like who he is generally as a reviewer. And when I look into what he has and what he has done, I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely cringed with the stuff that he has offered with all these types of videos and stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, people, I can't help but feel like he's one of those YouTubers. And you know what I mean by one of those YouTubers, or even one of those reviewers. Basically the kind that just heavily relies way too much on making clickbait in order to go and market his stuff. Like, you could say what you will, rather it be if it's like clickbait or rage bait, but basically using a lot of very cheap tactics in order to go and get people's attention, especially with his titles, with the way that he would frame his thumbnails and stuff like that. Like, basically, you could tell that he's not underneath any of those cheap tactics in order to grab people's attention. But not just that, however, but there's also the factor that going back into this, in a lot of his reviews, he honestly seems a lot more negative. Like, with everything that he portrays, that he I would say on average, maybe there are a few that he actually enjoyed or that he actually liked, but in here it honestly feels like generally it's rather he's either just completely shocked or he's just rather cynical. Like, I would say on average, he's a lot more negative than he is positive, which that's another thing that I feel like is another cheap attention grabbing tactic, that in order to go and maintain a heavy amount of reviews, in order to go and, get more attention from people, that in order, basically, he's using the tactic of using more negativity in order to attract reactionaries, in order to go and get more attention. Because it is true that being negative can actually get you more views and get more engagement than actually doing positive reviews. And that's why, honestly, I know that he's not the only one who does this, but I kind of feel like, honestly, just by looking and analyzing his channel, it makes me feel like Alex Meyers fell off a long time ago, long before his obsession review even came out. Because honestly, with the stuff that he has done, really, it's not like what he's doing. It's not actual entertainment. What he's doing is really just the main purpose of what he's doing. It's not for actual entertainment purposes. It's not for, giving audiences a good time. It's not even to go and express his opinion. All he's doing is just for the sake of engagement, just hyperbolically exaggerating his opinion, really playing up the snarkiness of his own, playing up the snarkiness of his own personality, just for the sake of getting clicks, of getting likes, of getting views, and getting revenue, especially. And that's why, honestly, I feel like we need to start normalizing a term that is similar to channels like Alex Meyers, who are generally more snarky, that are generally more negative, and are generally more reliant on clickbait. And what they're doing is slop. That's honestly all it is. Because honestly, I look at all these videos that Alex Meyers has done, and it's really no different than what Disney recently did with the live action remake of Moana. And I mean, like, you could even see like already like a few that are just like absolute like unwatchable. Like, I don't even see how anybody could like even stand stuff like this, like his Zootopia 2 review where he literally calls it "Please enjoy your Disney slop." Like, with that kind of reaction, like, I could think, all I think to myself is like, okay, well, fuck you too, buddy. You know, enjoy, like, honestly, I'll enjoy my Disney slop while you go and produce your own freaking stupid slop like this. Because honestly, with what you're doing, it's really not that different than whatever Disney would go and point out. Regardless if it is the Moana remake, if it's with what Disney has in store with Hex, or with Wish, or Ralph Breaks the Internet, or Zootopia 2, or whatever, you are no different. I would even say that you are even lesser. In fact, that's why honestly, it's review channels like this that are nothing more than slop. And honestly, we need to start treating these channels no differently than the Disney live action remakes, because their intentions are really the same thing, that these cynical reviewers are doing more to get engagement, to get, like, they're doing this more for the engagement and for the revenue, more so than the actual craft of video making, and to make, and, you know, in order to make entertaining stuff. Because honestly, crap like this is not entertaining whatsoever. So overall, honestly, I feel like it was just a matter of time that Alex Meyers would get called out for something like this. That his tactics of his engagement tactics of making clickbaity titles, of hyperbolically being cynical and snarky and stuff like that, it ultimately bit him in the ass, where he put out an absolutely terrible Obsession review, and that it ultimately made him look completely misogynistic and an absolute idiot, where these types of cynical reviewers that care more about slamming Disney and stuff like that, they actually don't know what they're talking about. Their media limit, sorry, I keep tripping on my own words here, but their media literacy is extremely limited, where they shouldn't really have a platform to go and talk about these types of films. If anything, they should just stick themselves in the comments section and nothing more, and let the critics who actually do know what they're talking about to actually have a platform. So yeah, honestly, I can understand why Alex Meyers was cringe with the Obsession review, because he's just been cringe altogether. All right, now with that said, I would like to now go into the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about the Alex Meyers controversy? I don't really have a lot of time here, but I'll do my best to go and see what other comments are in store over here. Well, what the fridge is going on? Sorry, it's just like my internet browser was acting all wonky. So, okay, let's just get back into this. Anyways, I don't like listening to YouTube reviewers with random opinions, especially Angry Joe's review of Miss Marvel with his stupid comments asking people to watch Black Adam to bring back Superman. But Alex's review on Obsession, wow. Just wow, that sounds toxic and misogynistic, wanting to make men of culture better than women. I am sorry, but this has gone too far. Please ignore the grifters of toxic reviewers and enjoy watching female-led movies. Yeah, exactly, man. Let's see, man, talk about a very awful review that's both sexist and cringe. I used to watch some of his videos years ago. They're all okay and fine, but knowing about this controversy, I'm honestly glad I never really followed him further, because it's so bad. Say what you will about Saberspark, he at the very least has the decency to be more open and honest about it, despite making dumb takes. Overall, moral of the story, don't be sexist while making a review. Yeah, and I mean, I know that a lot of people also coincide Saber Spark into this, because yeah, it is true that from time to time, like, yeah, he can be guilty of being very clickbaity with his videos. And, you know, there are times when it can feel like he is leaning more towards depending on engagement than actually putting out genuine entertainment. But at least with Saber, in his defense, he is trying a lot more to be genuine compared to Alex Meyers or any other cynical reviewers out there that just produce slop. Let's see now. Some people need to stay in their lane. Alex Meyers should have known what he was getting himself into when he decided to review a movie as serious and insightful as Obsession, with the same goofy and comedic methods he used to review kids movies and Riverdale. That would be like the angry video game nerd reviewing mouth watching in his over-the-top profound layer style. Sure, it might elicit a few laughs, but he would just make a fool of himself and cause people to think he's an idiot. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, at least with the nerd's defense, he's just a character. Like, at least we know that he's mainly just playing it up for laughs, and it doesn't necessarily reflect on who James Rolfe really is. Unlike Alex Meyers, on the other hand, where he, like, even though he is trying to put up a persona, he is really just being himself. Let's see now. I'll say that I've never watched any of Alex Meyers' videos, and I sadly haven't seen Obsession yet, but this is just bad. Seeing him basically acting sexist just makes him so cringy. I'm considering the kind of reviewer I'm considering the kind of reviewer he is. I'm not that shocked that this would. Seriously, you're right. We need to start labeling these kinds of channels as slop. Not just him, but people like DS Station, who make nothing but angry videos, is just slop. Oh yeah, I mean, like, DS Station is one of the prime examples. Like, everything he does, like, even if he would have a point that would be agreed upon, like, his anger issues just makes his videos feel like absolute slop that, at best, would be no different than any of the live action remakes like the Moana remake. But honestly, with most of the stuff that he does, I would much rather watch stuff like the Moana remake than the pile of garbage that he would do, honestly. All right. Any other comments? I think I got time for one more here. Let's see what we have. Okay. I have seen YouTube recommendations for this cynical dick sauce for a while now, and I immediately ignored it, especially seeing that Ralph Breaks the Internet one made me cringe hard. I hope that YouTube will soon enough stop promoting these kinds of channels. This is the reason why it's hard to stand out when I'm a positive guy. Exactly. That's kind of the sad reality, is that you, like, when it comes to more cynical reviewers or those who do depend on hating whatever new Disney movie comes out, not just the live action remakes, but also like whatever new Disney animated movie comes out. Like, honestly, these are grifters, sadly. These are people that you could tell that they care more about they care more about engagement and making a profit more so than than expressing their love for the mediums that they talk about. So yeah, so like I said before, it's honestly no surprise that Alex Meyers would end up making a horrible review like what we just saw with Obsession. But then again, it was a long time coming. And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And wow, what a major episode that was. And I just want to go and say thank you all so much for joining me on this, and tune in next time for more fun-filled episodes that are going to be in store here. And if you enjoyed your time here on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, don't forget to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the AniMat Live Twitch channel. At the same time, if you also enjoyed Oh, also, if you are also listening to this on whatever podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, and many, many more, don't forget to follow me there too. And by the way, yes, I did do an update on the Spotify thing. I did ask about the problems, and hopefully everything should be fine by now with that. But with all that said, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.